presidential candidate of the People's Democratic Party, PDP, and the former Vice President of Nigeria, Atiku Abubakar, has restated his commitment to ensuring that necessary constitutional amendments that will cause a transfer of more powers and resources to other tiers of government is activated on his first day in office if elected president in the next year's election. Mr. Atiku was talking during an interactive session with members of the Nigerian Guild of Editors meeting he held in Lagos. Well, but in Abuja, the national chairman of the PDP has been speaking about the chances of the PDP, and he says, notwithstanding internal wranglings in the party, the leadership of the PDP and the Nigeria's main opposition, he says, they are hoping to win 25 states, including Lagos State, in the forthcoming general elections. The national chairman of the party, Senator Yocha Aide, said that he's at a meeting in Abuja to receive the report of the Lagos and Osun State PDP Reconciliation Committee. Take a listen to Senator Yocha Aide.
Where the leadership of the party is united, it is always possible to have positive results. This has been demonstrated in a number of states already. And since we came on board, our emphasis has been on pushing for unity of the leaders, which will also bring on board unity of the followership. We are happy, as you have said, that the leaders in Lagos, whatever differences they are setting aside those differences, and they are coming together for the greater glory of the party. PDP, we have a governor in Lagos and several other positions, senators, House of Reps, and House of Assembly. We pray and hope that all leaders in all chapters will come together and help us work as one family so that by early next year, the PDP will be celebrating, as I have always predicted, at least 25 governors, and also be having a big victory party in the presidential villa.
Thank you so much, everyone. So you heard the Senator Yocha Aide statement there earlier today. It does look to me that, in fact, he's very much confident about the victory of the PDP ahead of this election. Let's get a sense on these issues. Now, Atiku Abubakar, the agenda of the PDP going into this election, restructuring, he says, is not off the table. He's serious about the issue of restructuring. But the big question is, how is he going to restructure this nation if he becomes Nigeria's president? I'm being joined by one of the media advisors to the former vice president and the presidential candidate of the PDP, Mr. Frank Shaibu, joins us live here in our Abuja studio. Thanks so much, Frank, for joining us tonight.
Thank you, Sean. How do you do? Good to be here.
I'm good, yeah. In 2019, restructuring was a major campaign item on Atiku Abubakar's manifesto. It does look like that did not also only find its way there, it's prominent there. Now, the APC will tell you that restructuring means different things to different people. And the style in which Mr. Atiku Abubakar has been talking here on how he's going to handle the economy has also gotten some criticism coming from the other side. Now, if you look at restructuring and perhaps the way Mr. Atiku Abubakar says he's going to handle it, can you explain to Nigerians in practical terms the seriousness of your principle in handling this restructuring?
Thank you, Sean. But before I even go into that, I would first take a look at what the other political party and how is saying about restructuring and what they think of it. Interestingly, you know, it's not just restructuring isn't just about 2023 election. It's been there. It's part of Atiku's master plan. It came up in 2019. It's been there right from when he was vice president of the Federal Republic of Nigeria between 1999 and 2007. But interestingly, you know, the APC the ruling government in the last 7 years, 7.5 years, have tried, albeit unsuccessfully, to even do something about restructuring. Of course, they had a thought of it. They thought about it. In fact, I remember listening to their current vice presidential candidate who talked about restructuring being balderdash. And the party itself, did set up a committee headed by Governor Nasir El-Rufai. The report of that committee was turned in. It had governors, several governors and leaders of their political party. That report was turned in as far back as 3-4 years ago. But nothing had been done about the issue of restructuring. So we can understand where they are coming from. So if in 2022, ahead of 2023 elections, they are questioning what we mean by restructuring, or our style, or how we intend to implement that. Restructuring basically, or in simple terms, has to do with devolution of powers.
Is that what Atiku wants?
What Atiku wants is to take governance and power to the different components, from the states to the local governments, from the federal to the states and to the local governments, as well as having development percolate all the nooks and crannies of Nigeria, taking power closer to the people, running what we call a lean government, not to have this kind of laborious and humongous government. And that is why you see, if you remember, between 1999 and 2007, under the President Olusegun Obasanjo administration, where His Excellency Atiku Abubakar served as vice president, remember the famous Orosanya report that was abandoned, or that was not implemented at the exit of that administration. That is one report that talked about reduction in the size of governance at the center. And if you reduce the size of governance at the center, and you move power closer to the people, particularly at the level of the states and the local government, obviously it becomes easier to manage. The people will have more access to developmental projects. The people will have more access to infrastructure. The people will have access to even not just control their resources, but they will have equal allocation in terms of allocation of their resources. So you see, you cannot do restructuring or you cannot divorce restructuring from what we call the allocation of their resources.
Now, so you need to also let Nigerians understand where you stand, because politically speaking, a lot of people, Nigerians are wiser now, and they're going into this election with their two eyes open. Not only what the politicians are promising. Restructuring has been used as a political bargaining chip to go into elections, to win election, as a tool to win elections. But now, we're no longer going to be fooled as a people when just for a moment, when politicians say something and they do something when they get into office. Yes. When you say you are going to devolve power, you're talking about taking power from the exclusive legislative list and taking it into other lists as Constitution provides. Yes. You're taking the power of the federal to the state and the local government. Sure. That, for any person who understands how this process works, knows that you have to go into the heart of the Constitution and fix it. Fantastic. That is not an easy task. Fantastic. It's probably one of the most difficult legal process in our country today. Nigerians cannot be deceived. Break it down and let us know, how do you hope to do this?
Sure, you see, that's why His Excellency Atiku Abubakar should be commended in the first instance. If you remember, at the beginning of this democratic journey, he remains the first presidential candidate to release his manifesto to the people entitled "My Covenant with the People," because he came prepared. He's the most prepared of all the presidential candidates, and that is why he is the most fit to rule this country. Interestingly, as it relates to restructuring as well and/or devolution of powers, as the case may be, as our viewers may want to understand it, the first thing he did, even before commencing on this journey, was to pick constitutional lawyers from all the geopolitical zones, set up a policy team in terms of producing a working document, preparing a draft bill as it relates to restructuring, and advising appropriately and accordingly, placing all the issues on the scale of rectitude and juxtaposing them with the current reality, and looking at how we can move some of these items from the exclusive legislative list to the concurrent list and vice versa, and or moving them from one point to the other, and how to devolve these powers effectively. Let me give you a classical example. We're talking about state policing, for instance, community policing, local government policing, and all that. Of course, that will form a part of the framework for our restructuring process. Because if we want to restructure Nigeria, we have to go through all that. You cannot unify. You see, Nigeria is a heterogeneous society, and we have to use our dynamic diversity as a unifying factor. So, and in doing that, you cannot, Atiku will not sit down as a president of this country to superintend over the nation. And you have service chiefs from one geopolitical zone. No, sir. It will not work.
Mr.
He has said it.
He has still not explained to Nigerians.
Hold on.
We are talking about policy and governance.
Yeah, that's where I'm headed.
Just a moment.
That's where I'm headed.
I've asked you a direct question on how it will go. If I ask you, for example, now, that how do you get to Lagos from Abuja? you could use two ways, basically, open to you. Either you fly or you go by road. Now, the question is, how does Atiku plan to restructure Nigeria?
Beautiful. You see, that's why I said the first step we have taken is that he has set up what we call a policy team, a constitution drafting team, a constitution bill amendment drafting team that have prepared a bill that will be forwarded to the National Assembly on his first day in office when elected as president of Nigeria. And members of this team were drawn from all the geopolitical zones. And with the
who is heading the team?
Well, I don't need to, for the purpose of strategy, I think sometimes we should tactically keep that to our chest for now.
So are you fixing the constitution, or which aspect?
It is not. The constitution is not for Atiku.
When you're taking power, because for those who of the school of thought that there's too much power at the center. Yes. So when you are doing that, there's a whole lot of element that you need to deal with.
Of course, you need the National Assembly, you need the state assembly.
No, I'm saying those items. You mentioned state policing, for example.
Yes.
How does he hope to tackle that?
How we hope to tackle that is to see that, look, we should be able to have state policing, we should be able to have community policing, we have to local government policing at all levels. Because these
Is he going to break down the existing police structure?
Not at all. You see, because of the insecurity in the country, the first thing to do is to get more boots on the ground for our police. Increase incentives for them. Manpower training and development, particularly in terms of encouragement, in terms of their take home. The moment that is sorted and we have been able to, mitigate the issue of insecurity in the country, we move. You see, the issue of the devolution of powers, particularly as it relates to restructuring, is not a one-day thing. It's a long haul. And because it's a long haul, he is coming prepared. And that is why he did set up a team that have methodically, mechanically, and critically taken a look at what the issues are, broken them down into parts, and have prepared and are still working on daily basis, day and night, to appraise the document we call a draft bill, a draft proposition, where you will now work as president with the executive, members of his cabinet, as well as the National Assembly members and the state legislature, to bring about a quick passage and a quick amendment to this to the constitutional provisions, so as to be able to now effectively, devolve the country and devolve all the various components of our nation.
Did you follow the constitutional amendment process that is ongoing?
Of course I did.
How successful do you think that was?
Well, you see, it depends on how deliberate you are.
No, I'm asking. I'm asking a specific question.
I'm
saying how successful do you think the constitutional amendment process had gone?
It depends on the political will of the leader. If the leader does not have the political will to take steps, deliberate steps. Let me give you an example. If it would take you, let me give you a clinical example as a teacher, for instance. It will take you, it will take every little child between the age of 6 months and 2 years, has the capacity to speak 7 languages. So if you expose the child to just the Yoruba language at home, and he goes to school, he studies the English language, he will end up speaking 2 languages. But if you are deliberate as a teacher and you expose your child, I'll use my son as a working hypothesis. I was deliberate about him. I hired a French teacher to serve as his nanny because I wanted him to be multilingual, since I'm a linguist, and I got him a French teacher who served as his nanny from the day he was born till he got to the age of 3. Today, he can extemporaneously speak the French language. He has a Spanish teacher, speak the Spanish language, speak the Igala language, speak the mother's language, and speak the English language very fluently. It is about being deliberate. Atiku has the political will. We're talking about leaders who do not have political will. And that is why constitutional amendment processes fail. This is a man who is not yet elected into office. In over 7 months, we have set up a team comprising senior constitutional lawyers from all the geopolitical zones under one roof, and they have been working day and night to come out with a working document, a draft bill, that from the first day he is elected, is sworn in as president of the Federal Republic of Nigeria, he wants to hit the ground running. And because he is deliberate about that step, and he has got the political will to do so, he has done it before, and there is no going back on this. We will succeed. Now, that others fail does not mean Atiku will fail on that.
Atiku has spoken about what he's going to do about the police.
Yes.
And you mentioned about state policing.
Yes.
Can you tell Nigerians what exactly this means?
State policing means it's simple.
No, I'm saying
yes.
what part of the manifesto, which
yes. part of the manifesto, what is stated clearly there
on the issue of policing.
The issue of policing, first off, is to first off increase our number in terms of the federal police.
Where would the money be coming from?
Oh, you see, some persons asked questions a few days ago. Like now, you talked about the Guild of Editors. We didn't just go to the Guild of Editors today. Atiku has been deliberate about the audience he's been speaking to. Deliberate audience, because he was invited by the Lagos Chamber of Commerce some time ago. That should be a few months ago. He did attend that meeting, and where he presented facts and figures. He presented his working document by covenant with the people to that audience. That's the organized private sector. You see, we're looking at a situation where we have a president in Atiku Abubakar who incentivize the private sector. We want, you see, is deliberately giving a warm handshake to the private sector.
The question I asked is about the police,
yes, about state policing.
And employing more boots and getting more boots on the ground.
Beautiful.
How is he going to get this done?
Beautiful.
Where will the money come from?
You see, a lot will happen. A lot of leakages will be blocked. We have a lot going down the drain. A lot of leakages will be blocked. You know that the issue of oil theft and others, ordinarily, I don't want to come to the studio to begin to talk about our problems like some candidates we do. We know what the problems are. We know what the leakages are. We know where the leakages are. We have seen them. We have identified them. We will block them.
All right.
And we'll make a lot of savings, and we will use that to
Let me allow our viewers to listen to Atiku Abubakar, who was speaking earlier today, and perhaps we'll glean one or two things and be able to dig deeper into what Atiku Abubakar said. Listen to Atiku Abubakar, PDP presidential candidate.
PDP will form a government of national unity. We will bring other members of the opposition who would have lost the vote. And then, of course, we move on from there. So this is one only ways to unify this country. And then we now begin to move. Today, we have 17 heads of the various security agencies. All of them came from the north. I won't do that. It's madness. I will make sure that every geopolitical zone is represented in those security outfits. This is also another way you can unify the country and give every part of this country a sense of belonging. By the time you double the strength of the Nigeria police force, maybe you will be talking about 700,000 or so. First of all, by putting more boots on the ground, you would have reduced unemployment. So if you extend that, operation to the armed forces, so by the time you finish doing that, you find that you would have taken out more than 1 million people out of the unemployment market.
You heard Atiku Abubakar there and what he said he's going to do. Let me get back to Mr. Frank Shaibu. It's in the devil, they say, is in the details. And Nigerians they have their eyes clearly open,
yes,
and they won't be closing it going into this election,
yes,
because Nigerians need to decide the right person that can lead this country. So it is how he hopes to achieve it. with the meager resources that are available to this country. If you are saying that you will employ more people, where are you going to get the money from? You know how much Nigeria is spending on debt servicing in our budget?
I know.
So what's your answer to it?
It's very simple. So, you know, before now, before you go to the how, you have to look at where we're coming from and how and what you need to do, you know, to save money. We have said that, look, the Atiku administration, Atiku presidency, by the grace of the Almighty, in May 2023, will collaborate with the private sector in all of this. Fiscal support, particularly fiscal support for state-owned enterprise, ailing state-owned enterprises will be stopped. So where you are not spending, let me give you a classical example. The rehabilitation of, the first phase of rehabilitation of our refineries, for instance, it's supposed to go up about $1.55 billion US. So why would government continue to spend those kind of monies to rehabilitate refineries that cannot produce at optimal capacity, when the private sector can do so? $1.55 billion US can be converted, can be used to fund our educational system that has become, that is underperforming. And when you do that, with profound respect.
Well, your principal had said that he had told Nigerians what he would do with the refineries.
Yes, I'm telling you. You asked the question how we intend to get this.
Yeah, so I'm asking you. Yes, you've touched on something else, which is also very controversial. On how the refineries are going to be handled and managed.
Even this administration, when His Excellency Atiku Abubakar said that in 2019, he was criticized. He was taken to the slaughter slab by the same APC. Today they've unbundled its refinery, even though they've done that, you know, using some pseudo arrangements. Because in fact, as far as we are concerned, the NNPC is not in the stock market. It's not quoted in the stock market. So what that kind of unbundling is not the kind of unbundling we are talking about. It should be transparent. It should be open to the people, where people can invest in it.
All right.
You understand me? So the private, you see, there is no way. You know, I was talking about the 1.55 billion US dollars.
Yeah.
You know, with the plan to use in rehabilitation of, you know, an ailing state enterprise like our refineries. If you use that money in our educational sector, in the health sector, in driving infrastructural development, in sanitation, there is no way you not bring about sanity to the people. You cannot give what you don't have.
Let me ask you.
Yes, go ahead.
Part of what your manifesto, personally reading through, and some of the promises that are made, I'm looking at how some of these things are going to be achieved, looking beyond the surface of the promises. For example, in your manifesto, Atiku Abubakar has promised 5,000 kilometers of new rail lines. Now, it costs an average of 1.5 billion US dollars to, for example, the Lagos rail line that is, how many kilometers? About 3,528 kilometers of rail line. It costs an estimated 1.5 billion US dollars. So invariably, with what Atiku Abubakar wants to do, it will need well over 45 billion US dollars to be able to do that. The question is, where will the money
he does not. You see,
from?
that is the Atiku Abubakar magic wand. That's his magic wand. He's going to break the jinx in infrastructure financing. How does he intend to break the jinx in infrastructure financing? Private sector. Private sector. If you collaborate, if you collaborate with the private sector, we are talking of a man who has not just been in public service, he's been in the private sector. And that is why, if you notice, he's been very deliberate about the audience he's been speaking with. And when he goes there, like yesterday, it was a robust conversation. I'm shocked that you were just talking about our meeting with the editors today. Of course, he went there to present himself as a job seeker. And he answered questions extemporaneously from the editors in Nigeria. Now, yesterday, it was at the Lagos Business School Alumni Association program, where we have chief executives of top major companies in Nigeria, particularly in the private sector. And they said, look, I'm here. I honored your invitation for one major reason, because my government, by the grace of the Almighty, in May 2023, May 29, 2020, from May 29, 2023, will be private sector driven, because I want a situation where we can collaborate. You see, our debt profile as it is, when you juxtapose it with our, what we call our revenue, you will know that Nigeria has been dressed in borrowed robes. You understand? So the only way out of it is particularly, is not to pay lip service.
It's to hand over.
It's not, no,
it's
not
to hand over
the
development to the private sector.
It's not to hand over. It's to collaborate with them.
Let me allow you to listen to these set of soundbite because we're getting out of time. So there was an event today in Rivers State where former governor of Edo State was a guest to the governor of Rivers State, Yinsam Wike. I'd like you to listen to it, and there are a few things that I'd like to get your response. Okay. Take a listen to Comrade Adams Oshiomhole and Governor Yinsam Wike.
I agree that even your worst critic will admit that Governor Wike has made a difference. You made a difference not only in terms of projects, but even your statement this afternoon. I join you in saying, because I've had cause to say that in Benin when I was governor of Edo State, that how can a country be governed by people who cannot be trusted? When politicians make statements, make promises, or even make agreements, or even enact laws, and the laws are not to be obeyed by themselves, they are to be obeyed by others. And when they default in their promises or understanding, they will say, but that is politics for you. There was a day I said to people in Edo, I said, if to be a politician is to say what you know is not correct and push it, then you know that those who live as liars, according to my own religion, thou shalt not lie. And so if lie is the name of the game, it means we are all candidates for hell. And I don't want to go to hell.
I will not judge anybody who does not want my state to benefit. I will not support anybody who does not like my state. Because for us here, if you hate us, we hate you. If you like us, we like you. If you do for me, I do for you. If you fall for me, I fall for you.
All right, interesting scenario there. Did I mention over 3,500 kilometers of Lagos? No, it's actually Lagos Ibadan is about 157 kilometers. In around the country is about 3,000, almost 3,600 kilometers of rail lines. All right, so I mean, just to correct those figures. So let me get your view on what is happening in Rivers State, which a lot of people have drawn. I mean, in fact, if you look at what Governor Soludo said, that Peter Obi has taken most of your votes in literal terms going into the election. What is the event in Rivers State and those from the other party visiting Governor Wike, does it trouble your party?
There is, you see, Sean, I've said it times with that number, that there is no trouble in the PDP. What is it? Atiku's covenant with Nigerians is being sold to Nigerians, particularly based on the fact that we have said it times with that number, that the major determinant for the election in 2023 is hunger and anger. It's not rhetoric. You know, you understand me? It's not rhetoric. It's not, you know, and I've said it again that there is a language that befits the status of a governor or our leaders. And there are certain languages that should be limited to certain sets of people. But interestingly, you know, Oshiomhole was talking there. And for me, you know, he was, I think he was speaking to himself. Because as chairman of his political party in 2019, in the run-up to the 2019 election, he made several promises as chairman of that political party at various rallies, at various campaign grounds, how they were going to create additional middle class for at least 2 million new home owners in the first year from 2019 to between 2019 and 2023. All those ones never happened. We know a lot of failed promises. Over 62 of them.
Thank you so much, Frank, for coming tonight. I appreciate it. Now, wish your party the very best. I guess we'll have time more to talk about your campaign promises and all
Sean, the truth is this: whether the cock crows or not, the sun will shine. Atiku will be president.
Thank you so much. Well, that's a prayer. I hope it comes true.